Welcome to September 2025 block of the month, and we're going to start off this month making a small block that again we're going to applique onto a Dresden, and then we're going to do a unique leaf block. So to start off, we're going to be making some half square triangles, and I have paired a white and orange square. These are oversized and we'll trim them down. I've drawn a diagonal line corner to corner on the white, and we're going to stitch on both sides of the line. Okay, so we're going to turn that into a half square triangle. And then while I'm here, I've also oriented the other shapes. And with these, we've drawn a diagonal line, and we're actually going to sew on the diagonal line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So we have a white with a red. So stitching on the line. Okay, and then we have an orange and white. Again, stitching on the line. And then another orange and white. This is a larger rectangular unit of the orange. Okay, and on the line. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go press all these and get them ready for the next step. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut apart the two half square triangles, and then I am just going to press those to the orange. And I'll let them cool a bit, and then we're going to trim those down. And then on this unit, I'm going to heat set it and then just press those that white back onto itself so that we've got a triangular white shape there, and same on this shape. And then on our red and white one, I'm just going to press that white back. Okay, and then I'll probably just go through and we'll scissor trim off the extra, but I'm going to let them cool down a little bit. And then here we're going to go ahead and trim down the half square triangles. Okay, so I have those the size that they need to be. And then on these other three pieces, I'm just going to take some scissors and remove that excess, trimming it so that it's a 1/4 inch away from that seam. Okay, and then let's head back to the sewing machine. Okay, I have my block laid out, oriented the way that everything's supposed to. And so I'm going to join these 2 units and then these 3 units in this row, and then we'll be able to join those rows together. Okay, I'm going to give those a quick press. Okay, I've pressed these, and the pressing on this really doesn't matter just because it's not matching up to a seam on the next place that it's sewn to, but I did on this one, I just pressed to that half square triangle. I easily could have pressed it to the orange, and this I just pressed, one went one way and one went the other way. So doesn't really matter on that. And then now we're going to join these rows. Okay, and then this one goes on here. Okay, and then I'm going to press these and we're going to add our border pieces. Now I'm ready to add the top and bottom sections. And just a note, I cut one of these a little bit shorter. I just misread the cutting directions, and I think I can still make this work. So I'm going to show you how I'm dealing with that one. But first, the one that is correct, I can go ahead and add that to one side, or the top or the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to press that back. And then this piece, I know it's just going to be like a 1/4 inch on each side shorter, but that's going to be fine because we're going to put that applique circle on, and we're cutting off these outer points anyway. So I'm just going to center it, and it will be just fine. Okay, let's press that. Okay, I have my circle drawn on my interfacing, and now I've just put that right sides on top of the piece block that I just did. And then I'm going to pin that in place, and then I'm going to stitch on that drawn line. And I want to show you this section here is where this piece that I added was shorter, but the circle is coming here and here. So it's really not impacting that area at all. We're going to cut those off. So I was okay with not recutting another piece on that one. It was still going to be usable. Okay, so I'm just going to pin this in place. Okay, and then we'll just stitch on that circle. Okay, I'm ready to put on my applique circle onto my block. And one thing on this I was going to show is that we made the block not on point, but when we're putting it here, I'm putting it on point, if that makes sense. So in this case, I have my square points here, and I'm using those to line up on my Dresdens, and then I've turned the block kind of on point. So we get this look, the look of like a little flower bud. So that's how I have that one oriented, and I've got it where I want. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put a few pins in that, and then we'll be ready to stitch. Okay, we're getting ready to sew the big stem and leaf unit, and this is using the whole Dresden wedge shape. And so I have oriented the pieces on my design board like they're going to go in the block. So this is one side, this is another side. And how we have them is the larger side of the green is going to be facing towards the center. So that means the smaller side of the white is facing to the center. So they go every other way, and that's going to give us a straight line. Okay, so to get started, there is a little trick in lining them up. And so I'm going to kind of show you that now. Okay, I have a unit here. The white side is wrong side facing out, so right sides together, and I've lined it up so that the points meet exactly in the point. However, if we stitch them just like that, then as we open it up, our rows are going to be offset by a little bit. So in order to make it a more straight line, we can offset it before we sew it. And so to do that, I'm going to start with, and I'm going to draw a line or a marking that's a 1/4 inch away from this edge on the white side. Okay, so I'm just going to take a ruler and I've got a 1/4 inch mark there, and then I'm also going to put a 1/4 inch mark on this other side. And this ruler has the aqua part there, that is a 1/4 inch. So, okay, so now when I put them right sides together, and I'm going to start at this end here, where my 1/4 inch on the white, where my seam's going to go, that's where I want to line it up to the edge of the green. Okay, so you can see there's barely a little bit of the green poking out there, so that is right. And I'm going to put a little bit of a pin in there just so it stays while I look at the other end. And then when I'm lining up the other end, again, I'm making sure my 1/4 inch line is meeting exactly at the green. And so I'll put a pin there. And so on the wider edge, the longer edge that's wider here is overhanging just a little tiny bit of the underside unit. So the white is going to overhang barely like a 1/16 of an inch. And then you can see it better on the green side there. So they're not exactly lined up point to point, more like we're lining up where our 1/4 inch seam is going to be. And we want to make sure that they're both lined up where our stitching is going to start and stop right where they both meet. Okay, let's give that a try and see what we come up with. Okay, so when I take that out, I'm just going to kind of finger press it back towards the white. Okay, so there we've got it. It's pretty good. We are going to trim this down a little bit. So it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but if we can make an effort to try to get them straight, it'll just make our block come out a little bit better. So here you can see this is a straight line here, and this side, it's going to be straight. It's a little bit off, but it's fine. We're, again, going to trim that down. So we're going to continue to add all of those going up, and then we're going to do the other side as well. So just keep going, and if you'd like to mark it, go ahead. Otherwise, now I'm going to put my next one right sides together, and okay, from that first block, I know that the wider side is going to be the piece that's hanging over at my edge. So when I line up this unit, my green is just a little bit over because the green is the widest on this edge. And then when it meets the white over here, the white is overhanging because that's the wide edge of that. So let's go ahead and sew that one without marking it and see if I... Okay. So when I open that up, I'm going to just kind of finger press that to the green. And yeah, that looks much better. So here we're getting a nice straight edge. And once we press it and stuff, it'll start to see where it's going straight. But again, we're going to trim those down a little bit, but this is just going to help keep our row going nice and straight. So I'm just going to keep on adding, and I'm alternating green, white, and then I'm always making sure that the white, larger, wider end is on this side here. Okay, I'm ending on a green. That looks pretty good. I think it stayed pretty straight. I'm going to go ahead and press it. And on these, as I was going, I just finger pressed to the one that I just added so that they're all going pressed up. And so I'm just going to continue to do that with the iron on this side. Okay, I have this side done and pressed. It looks pretty good. I'm liking it. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing and piece the opposite side. So I'm just lining up so that the wider edge of the fabric piece of the blade unit is the one that's overhanging. So on here, I've got the wider end of the green tip hanging over here, and over here, the white is hanging beyond the green because that's the larger side. So we're just gonna piece those exactly the same way. Okay, I'm gonna give that one a press now as well. Okay, I have my unit all pressed nice and neat, and I just press them all going up or all in the same direction, doesn't really matter. And then the first thing that I'm gonna do is on the green side where the wider green area is showing, I'm gonna do a cleanup cut, just barely taking anything off. I'm just gonna try to give myself a nice straight edge, and I'm just cleaning up maybe just little tiny bits that are hanging over. So I'm not really trimming anything. I'm just getting it fairly straight. Okay, so I've done that there. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm finding a line on my mat and I'm lining that edge up, and then I'm going to measure over 7.5 inches and then trim down that side here where the white is larger is where I'm going to be trimming. So I've got this lined up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so I need to trim, I'm trimming approximately 1/2 inch off this side here and making sure everything's fairly straight. And then we're going to give that a trim. Okay, and then we can just discard that piece there. Okay, and let's go ahead and do that to the other side as well. Okay, I have the other side of the unit, and again, I'm on the green edge where the greens are the wider area showing, and I'm just going to do a very, very slight trim. I'm just kind of getting little extra bits, those little overhang parts, so barely anything is coming off. It's just giving me a straight edge to work from. Okay, and then same thing. We're going to find a line on our mat that we can line this up with. Okay. Then I'm going to measure over 7.5 inches. And I'm going to double check everything because I get one chance to cut it. So okay, and that looks good, so I am going to trim. Okay, and we can discard that piece. So now we have both of our units trimmed, and they're 7.5 inches wide, and they're going to look like this. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to be trimming is the top and bottom sides. So we want this piece here to measure 17.5 inches. And so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to pick a side. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start here. And on a narrow side of the green, so I have the wide side here, and this is the narrow side. I am going to take a ruler, and I'm going to place the 5/8 inch mark exactly where the white and green, right on that seam at the very edge. So I'm right at 5/8, and I've lined it up straight along here. I can see I have 5/8 right exactly from the end of that seam allowance, and then I'm just going to draw a line. That will give me a checkpoint. Again, we're going to measure twice, cut once. So then I'm going to rotate the unit, and same thing. On the narrow side, I'm putting my 5/8 inch mark exactly where that seam is at the very end there. And then I'm going to draw a line here. Okay, and then I have already cut my centerpiece at the 17.5 inch line, and so I can kind of use that as a guide to put it on there and know that, well, it's actually, we're going to put it on the wider green side, but it should still equal that 17.5. So once we've checked that, then we can go ahead and trim it, but I'm going to mark my other unit here. So on the narrow end of the green, I'm putting a straight line right at the edge of my, the cut end there. And then I'm 5/8 of an inch exactly at that seam. And then I'm going to draw a line. And the same thing on the other side. So I'm always measuring from the narrow green side I've got a straight line here and I'm at the 5/8 inch mark there. And I'm drawing a line there. And I'm just going to kind of lay this on here just to give it a check. And that looks pretty good. So now I can go ahead and I'm going to trim where I've drawn the line, and then we're going to sew it to the middle green section. So we can just discard those pieces. Okay. And then when I add the green, I'm adding it to where the wider portions of the green are going to be touching. So, and then I'm going to trim up the other side. And this end as well. And then I'm going to match that up. And then we can go ahead and stitch each of the side units then to the longer stem piece in the center. And then that's what it will go ahead and look like. Okay, I'm now going to sew that long green piece to each side of the unit. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and finger press that back, and then we can add the next side. And so now I'm paying attention that I have them going the same way. So like I have this same fabric at this end, and that way the fabrics right across from each other are the same. Now this would be really cute if you had them all scrappy too. So you really can line them up any way you want. But I did choose to go ahead and do the same fabrics in the same position with the greens there. So now I can sew this side on. Okay, I'm going to give that a quick press. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add a white border to each of the sides. Okay, I'm going to press those back, and then we're going to add a border to the bottom, so just one side. So I'm going to pick the lighter green area to make as my bottom, and then we'll add that piece on. Okay, I'm going to give that a really good press, and then we're going to add the top Dresden part block on. Okay, I've got the Dresden top and I've got it right sides together with the stem unit, and I did put a few pins there, and then we're going to just join those two blocks together. Okay, I'm going to open that up, and that's what our block is going to look like. I'm going to give that a good press, and then we are done with September. Thanks for watching.